They laughed the moment he stepped out of his truck. Laughed when they saw the cracked driveway swallowed by weeds, the sagging iron gate hanging like a broken promise, and the strange brick mansion crouched in the middle of nowhere like a forgotten relic. They laughed even harder when they heard the price he had paid for it, 50 cents. To them, it was a joke. To him, it was the last thing he had left to believe in. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that nothing and no one is ever truly worthless, take a second right now to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the greatest treasures are buried under the deepest doubts. Chief Petty Officer Aaron Hayes had faced enemy fire, freezing nights in foreign deserts, and missions so classified they lived only in silence behind his eyes. But nothing prepared him for civilian life. Nothing prepared him for the quiet. After 15 years as a Navy SEAL, the world felt too loud and too empty at the same time. The war inside his head followed him home, whispering in the stillness, replaying the moments he wished he could forget. The only thing that kept him steady was Titan, a retired military working dog who had served 2 tours beside him. Titan understood the tremor in Aaron's hands before anyone else noticed. Titan sensed the panic before it surfaced. Titan stayed. The mansion had been an abandoned estate on the outskirts of a small rural town. Its curved metal roofs arched like tired shoulders, and ivy crawled up its brick walls as if trying to hide its shame. Years earlier, a wealthy recluse had owned it, but after his mysterious death and a tangle of unpaid taxes, the property had fallen into county hands. No one wanted it. The foundation had cracks, the windows were boarded, and rumors swirled about mold, rot, and worse. When the county held a clearance auction, it attracted more mockery than bidders. Aaron had shown up in worn boots and a simple flannel shirt, listening as men in pressed suits snickered. When the opening bid fell absurdly low and no one spoke, Aaron reached into his pocket, pulled out 2 quarters, and raised his hand. The gavel struck. 50 cents. Laughter erupted like fireworks. They said a decorated SEAL must have lost his mind. They said trauma had made him reckless. They said he'd waste whatever savings he had trying to fix a place that should have been demolished. But Aaron didn't buy it for prestige. He bought it because it was broken. And he understood broken. The first weeks were brutal. The electricity barely functioned. The water sputtered out rust. Floors creaked like they were warning him to turn back. At night, wind slid through shattered window frames and howled down the corridors. But Aaron woke before sunrise every day, laced his boots, and got to work. He tore down rotten drywall, cleared debris, patched holes in the roof. His muscles remembered endurance even if his heart felt heavy. Titan followed him from room to room, nails clicking softly on concrete, ears alert, eyes loyal. The townspeople drove by slowly just to stare. Some filmed him, uploading clips titled "The 50-Cent Fool." Teenagers dared each other to step onto his property. Contractors refused to give him fair prices, assuming he would fail anyway. Loneliness pressed against him like a weight vest he could not remove. Some nights, he sat on the mansion's wide stone steps and stared at the horizon, wondering if maybe they were right. Maybe he was trying to rebuild something that didn't want saving. But Titan never doubted. The dog would nudge his hand whenever Aaron froze mid-task, lost in a memory. Titan would lean his solid body against Aaron's leg until the shaking stopped. In the silence of that abandoned estate, man and dog built something invisible before they rebuilt anything else: trust in tomorrow. One afternoon, nearly 3 months into renovations, Titan began acting strangely. Aaron had been clearing a storage room in the basement, the air thick with dust and dampness. The basement was the coldest part of the house, carved partially into the earth. Old shelving lined the walls, warped and sagging. Titan paced in tight circles, whining low in his throat. At first Aaron thought it was a rat. He grabbed a flashlight and scanned the shadows. Nothing. Then Titan moved to a specific corner. The dog lowered his head, sniffed intensely, and began scratching at the concrete floor. Not playful scratching. Focused. Urgent. Aaron frowned. "What is it, boy?" he murmured, more to himself than to the dog. Titan barked sharply and continued clawing. The concrete in that corner looked slightly different, newer, smoother. Aaron's pulse quickened. He had seen hidden compartments before, but never in a civilian home. He fetched a crowbar and began chipping at the edge. The first crack echoed through the basement like a gunshot. Dust rose in a cloud. Titan stepped back but did not look away. Minutes turned into an hour. Sweat soaked Aaron's shirt as he pried and hammered. Finally, a section of concrete gave way, revealing a metal hatch beneath. His breath caught in his throat. The hatch had a rusted handle and a heavy lock long since corroded. With effort, he forced it open. A narrow ladder descended into darkness. Aaron hesitated. Every mission he had ever been on flashed through his mind. Unknown space. Limited visibility. Potential danger. He exhaled slowly, grounding himself in the present. This wasn't a war zone. It was his house. Still, his hands trembled as he flicked on the flashlight and climbed down, Titan following close behind. The beam cut through blackness and landed on wooden crates stacked neatly against the walls of a hidden underground room. The air smelled dry, preserved. Aaron approached the nearest crate and pried it open. Inside were rows of gold bars. For a long moment, the world stopped. The light reflected off the metal in blinding brilliance. Aaron blinked, thinking it was a hallucination, some cruel trick of exhaustion. He reached out and touched one. Solid. Heavy. Real. He opened another crate. More gold. Another. And another. Along one wall were sealed containers filled with rare coins, antique jewelry, and bundles of cash wrapped in oilcloth. It wasn't just a forgotten stash. It was a fortune. Titan sat at the base of the ladder, watching quietly, tail sweeping the floor in slow arcs. Aaron sank to his knees. The sound that escaped him was not laughter and not quite a sob. It was something in between, disbelief tangled with overwhelming gratitude. All the ridicule, the isolation, the exhaustion, the doubts, they dissolved in that underground chamber. But what shook him most was not the wealth itself. It was the realization that the world had judged the mansion by its surface, just as they had judged him by his scars. They saw decay. They saw worthlessness. They never imagined treasure lay beneath. News spread quickly. When Aaron reported the discovery to authorities, as integrity demanded, investigators confirmed that the deceased owner had likely hidden his assets during a period of paranoia. With no legal heirs and after a lengthy legal process, the majority of the fortune was lawfully transferred to Aaron as the property's rightful owner, with a portion allocated to outstanding taxes and public claims. The headlines that once mocked him now praised him. The 50-cent fool became the lucky seal. But Aaron did not feel lucky. He felt responsible. He used part of the fortune to fully restore the mansion, not into a symbol of wealth, but into something far more meaningful. He converted the main floor into a rehabilitation center for veterans struggling with PTSD and homelessness. The upper rooms became temporary housing. The sprawling land around the estate transformed into training grounds for service dogs, honoring Titan and others like him. He hired local workers, including some who had once laughed, giving them steady jobs and dignity. The day the center opened, a line of veterans stood at the gate. Some leaned on canes. Some avoided eye contact. Some carried invisible wounds heavier than any pack. Aaron greeted each one personally. He did not speak to them as a hero or a benefactor, but as a brother. Titan, older now but still proud, moved gently among them, sensing who needed a nudge, who needed silent company. The mansion that had once been mocked now glowed warmly at dusk, its windows lit with purpose. Laughter, real laughter, echoed through halls that had once groaned with emptiness. Aaron often walked to the basement alone. The hidden room was empty now, its contents invested into lives rather than locked away. He would stand there and remember the moment Titan started scratching at the floor. That simple act of loyalty had changed everything. He realized the true fortune was never just the gold. It was the chance to rebuild not only walls, but hope. It was the reminder that even when the world laughs at you, there may be something extraordinary beneath the surface, waiting for someone brave enough to dig. Before we close this story, I want to ask you something special. Comment the word "believe" if you think no life and no place is ever beyond redemption. Let's fill the comments with hope. Years later, when Titan's muzzle turned gray and his steps slowed, Aaron carried him to the wide stone steps of the mansion one last time. The sun dipped below the trees, casting golden light across the estate that 50 cents had bought. Aaron held Titan close, whispering gratitude into his fur. The dog who had once charged through danger without hesitation had uncovered a treasure greater than gold. He had uncovered a future. Titan passed peacefully, surrounded by the scent of grass and the sound of distant laughter from veterans inside the mansion. Aaron buried him under an oak tree on the property, placing a simple marker engraved with the words, "Loyal beyond measure." If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that faith and perseverance can transform ridicule into redemption, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps stories like this reach someone who might be standing in front of their own 50-cent mansion, wondering if it's worth saving. Because sometimes, beneath the cracked concrete of our lowest moments, there is a hidden hatch. And sometimes, all it takes to find it is loyalty, courage, and the willingness to keep digging.